Normally I start these videos off by talking about where a prospect ranked in high school and where they committed to play college basketball, if they decide to take the G League route, or where they played internationally. Shaedon Sharpe falls into none of these buckets. Sharpe was considered the #1 prospect for next year's class and did commit to Kentucky. He even showed up on Kentucky's bench starting in January of this past season, but never actually logged a minute for the Wildcats. The belief was that since he was still playing with his high school team in fall, that he wouldn't be eligible for the draft in June. But he technically graduated high school academically in May, meaning that he will meet both the age requirement and the 1 year out of high school requirement. This is still somewhat confusing to me, but for our purposes, Sharpe is now a top draft prospect. There are mysteries in every draft, usually in the later lottery, but the even more bizarre thing about Sharpe is that he is likely to be drafted with a very high pick. Both Tankathon and Sam Vecini of The Athletic have Sharpe mocked at number 5 to the Pistons. Due to the mystery surrounding Sharpe, opinions on him are very polarizing, and that will likely not change as we approach the draft. The first and arguably biggest strength for Sharpe is his jaw-dropping athleticism. The NBA is full of great athletes, guys that can do things that the vast majority of human beings simply cannot do no matter how hard they try. Sharpe's athleticism looks like it could be in the top tier of even that elite group. For some perspective, a video of Sharpe emerged about a month ago in which he displayed a max vertical leap of 49 inches, which would be the highest in NBA history. The vertical leaping ability gives Sharpe the ability to throw down astounding dunks and get so high up on shot block attempts that he can almost catch the shot attempt. There was one game I was watching where Sharpe had to duck his head in the air a bit to avoid hitting it on the rim. Additionally, this vertical hang time allows Sharpe to finish tough layups around the basket because he has time to adjust in the air to avoid or absorb contact. Beyond just the leaping ability though, Sharpe is a fluid athlete with or without the ball in his hands. He's quick in both the open court and in the half court. All in all, there's really no way to knock Sharpe from a pure athleticism perspective. He should have absolutely no issue fitting into the NBA in this department. Another strength for Sharpe is shooting. We don't have much in the way of hard stats to back up saying Sharpe is a good shooter, but he has a good-looking stroke that he has shown the ability to make from a variety of situations. He's looked especially good off the catch, but has shown the ability to make shots off the dribble and has even showed off a step-back jumper. It should be acknowledged that Sharpe does have some really bad misses at times and has struggled with free throws in some games. Additionally, projecting being able to get a shot off versus really good high school teams versus NBA athletes is next to impossible. Like most things with Sharpe, we just have to go off of what we see and feel. To me, it looks like Sharpe has the potential to be an above-average shooter, which would complement his high-level athleticism very well. One final strength for Sharpe is his ability to handle the basketball. To be clear, Sharpe doesn't seem like a guy that can routinely break down guys off the dribble. He gets most of his looks at the basket in transition or off cuts. But Sharpe is able to handle the basketball well enough to get out in transition and create space for a shot in the half court. There are some super athletic players that make it into the NBA that can't handle at a very high level and are forced to work primarily away from the ball. Sharpe appears to be able to handle well enough to create some of his own looks. He might have to become a bit more dynamic to start blowing past guys regularly, but he seems to have a good base to work with. One weakness for Sharpe is engagement on the defensive end of the floor. When Sharpe is engaged defensively, he looks like a pretty solid defender. He has a nearly 7-foot wingspan and is incredibly quick and athletic, giving him the ability to defend across multiple positions. But, at least with his high school team, Sharpe looked like he would take possessions off defensively. There were situations where he could have contributed defensively or to rebounding, and he was just sort of standing or walking around instead. To be fair, it's entirely possible that Sharpe just didn't feel the need to be fully engaged on every defensive possession for a high school team when he had the NBA in his sights. But ideally, you'd like to see a guy that consistently takes pride in his work on both ends of the floor. Like I said though, if Sharpe is able to stay engaged defensively at the NBA level, I don't think there will be too many issues. Another weakness for Sharpe is shot selection. Again, this doesn't feel like an entirely fair criticism since Sharpe was considered the best player on his team, probably by a fairly wide margin. So naturally he is going to end up taking some difficult shots for his team. But it must be acknowledged that at times Sharpe seemed to decide it was time to put a shot up regardless of time on the shot clock and situation. He forced up some heavily contested looks in situations where it would have been much easier for him to look for an open teammate or continue to dribble and create a better shot. Especially early in his career, Sharpe will probably be asked not to call his own numbers so much until he can prove that he can make those contested looks consistently. The hope is that in a different context, some of those forced shots naturally go away from his game. This first clip shows off some of Sharpe's incredible athleticism. The play starts with Sharpe jogging over half court as his teammate brings the ball up. Sharpe gets a few steps over half court, then hits the gas and explodes off the wing towards the basket. He gets a screen from a teammate and the pass comes just as he is getting around the screen. It ends up being a very high lob, but Sharpe launches off the floor, catches it with one hand, and powers it down. There simply aren't many players that could make this type of play. Sharpe should give us plenty of highlight-worthy plays throughout his NBA career. This next clip gives us some good insight into Sharpe's ability as a shooter. The play starts with Sharpe set up on the right elbow. He sets a screen and then flares out near the top of the arc. He corrals a low pass, sets his feet, and knocks down the three. The reason I chose this clip is because we're able to see Sharpe knock down a shot from NBA range. It also gives us a pretty close-up look at his shooting form. Everything looks mechanically sound, and it's encouraging to see that his range extends out to the NBA three-point arc. This final clip lets us see how Sharpe can lose focus on the defensive end of the floor at times. The play begins with the ball getting swung over to Sharpe's man on the wing. Sharpe closes out reasonably under control but gets caught a bit off balance on the pump fake. Not the greatest technique, but it happens to everyone. But after the blow-by, Sharpe just kind of floats towards the basket and gives up on the play. I'm not sure he would have been able to help contest the shot anyway, but once the initial shot was missed, he could have definitely helped with rebounding if he hadn't given up on the play. In the NBA, Sharpe will have to consistently keep his focus on defense to keep his coaches happy. Shaedon Sharpe enters the draft shrouded in mystery. He has shown off some incredible tools in his limited time on the floor leading up to this draft, but that's the thing, it has been a very limited time. We simply don't have a lot to go off of in our evaluation of Sharpe. But the fact of the matter is, Sharpe appears to be careening towards a high lottery pick in the upcoming draft. A team is going to fall in love with the potential and the tools and roll the dice. To me personally, Sharpe seems like a player with a wide range of outcomes as an NBA player. His athleticism will obviously transfer, but the level of physicality and skill he will be dealing with as an NBA player will be far superior to anything he's dealt with thus far in his career as a basketball player. He certainly has the potential to be really good, but I do think there will be an adjustment period when he gets to the NBA. Expecting him to be successful right away might be unreasonable. At the end of the day, Sharpe is clearly a very talented player, and I could see him blossoming into a really good player down the road. I just think it might take a bit longer than people expect. My NBA comp for Shaedon Sharpe is a raw version of Anthony Edwards. Edwards came into the NBA much more pro-ready than Sharpe in my opinion, but both are strong athletic shooting guards with long arms that can shoot it well, and also play some solid defense when they are engaged on that end. I don't think Sharpe will come into the NBA and have as much success right away as Edward has, but he could reach a similar level at his best.